Halo semuanya, aku Vivian. I'm one of the co-founder of Abroadening, and today I want to talk to you about how you can ace your IISMA interview. Walaupun ini sebenarnya offering as part of our IISMA series, actually the kind of tips that I would provide to you today will be applicable to any types of interview, whether it's a scholarship interview, whether it's a work interview, and any other interview in your life, because interview is not something that you only face like once in your life. It's a very crucial stage that you have to overcome in the next milestone of your life as well. Jadi dari aku sendiri, background aku sebelum kita mulai adalah aku itu adalah recipient of the scholarship from Singapore Ministry of Education when I was 15. Jadi waktu umur 15 aku dapat full beasiswa dari Singapore MOE, dan part of the selection process itu adalah interview, and from there I managed to study in scholarship in Singapore for around 4 years. And also, I've also had a bunch of interview experience from work, because right now I'm working as an engineer in Procter & Gamble Gillette in London, UK. Dan pokoknya I think the amount of interview yang aku udah laluin itu nggak bisa dihitung lagi gitu ya. Jadi that's why I'm really passionate about telling you about what I've learned from my interview so far and how you can learn from my experience. Menurut aku, yang paling penting sebelum kita mau mempersiapkan untuk interview itu adalah understand the objective of the interview gitu ya. Mengerti tujuan dari interview itu apa gitu. Nah, dan ini kenapa? Karena oftentimes a lot of people think, that a scholarship or, something like IISMA, like an exchange program, is like a charity gitu. Jadi mereka punya mindset bahwa this kind of interview itu bisa aja dikasih ke siapapun gitu, without thinking actually apa sih yang orang-orang ini mau dapatkan dengan mengeluarkan beasiswa atau mengeluarkan program seperti ini gitu. Oke, bagian yang kedua sekarang adalah understanding the types of interview questions that you can receive in any situation. Nah, jadi menurut aku sendiri, tipe interview question itu ada dua gitu, most likely. Yang pertama adalah motivational, dan yang kedua adalah competency based question gitu. Dan mungkin ada kategori lain, of course, yang kategori yang lain itu lebih ke kayak mungkin I would put under others gitu ya. Certain interview mungkin mereka ada brain teaser, certain other interview ada other question that is not captured gitu. Misalnya yang paling famous kayak what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and those things. Tapi for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna focus on those two things that I just mentioned gitu. Biasanya motivational based question, as you understand, itu lebih ke kayak why do you choose this specific course, why do you choose this specific host university, why do you choose a specific host of uni gitu kan. And I think it's very important untuk bilang gitu ya, kalau mungkin kalian mau a certain country, certain city itu bukan hanya karena mungkin university itu ranking 1 gitu, atau mungkin bukan hanya karena ikut-ikutan teman gitu ya. Dan tujuannya motivational based question itu menurut aku lebih ke kayak just showing gitu that you have done enough research to your university. Yang kedua lebih ke kayak competency based question. As you know, that would be tell me a time ketika kalian pernah face uncomfortable situation gitu. Tell me a time where you have to lead a team gitu. Nah, in general, I would say depending on your comfort in interview, sebenarnya a lot of the approach that people take adalah they try to prepare for every single question gitu ya, prepare for every single question, dan prepare different story for every single question. Jadi kalau ditanyain leadership, ngomongnya waktu yang begini. Kalau ditanyain soal kayak failure, ngomonginnya waktu aku masih kayak SMA atau waktu aku di uni gitu. And I think a lot of people have like different types of preparing, but I would say certainly it comes with time, but I would say you're very comfortable in interview when you can use any experience to answer any question gitu. Jadi now that I have told you all the tips and tricks, and also understanding the objective of ISMA as well. I have here Rifli Mubarak. Jadi Rifli ini adalah salah satu tim Abroadening juga, and really good Rifli to have you here. Hello. Can you please introduce yourself? Ini interview belum mulai, but maybe introduce yourself buat teman-teman yang bakal ngelihat video ini yang masih persiapan untuk ISMA interview as well.
Okay, thank you, Kafi, for the opportunity. Hello everyone. My name is Muhammad Rifli Mubarak, a final year law student of Universitas Hasanuddin, and I'm so passionate in the world of public policy, and particularly the roles that think tanks play in advocating changes. Jadi, my experience as an ISMA awardee 2021 to the University of California, Davis really bolsters my capacity as a researcher, Kafif, and I think ISMA is a very holistic opportunity to expand connections and also research opportunities nationally and also internationally. I think that's my brief introduction. So I'm a law student, and I could associate myself as a legal researcher.
Great! Oh my God, keren banget. Thank you banget, Rifli, to spend some time here with us ya. So before coming in, just to make sure that it doesn't run out of time. Jadi sebenarnya some of the questions that they would ask you in general in an interview itu biasanya related to your essays gitu ya. Jadi kalau teman-teman udah punya ISMA essay, just make sure that you've gone through again every single thing of those essays, because they're probably going to dig deeper into those things. And so right here, I'm going to assume that, of course, Rifli, has been drilled with his interview and all that in real life. And now we are going to move on to some other questions yang kira-kira lebih pertinent dan lebih bisa ditanyain juga gitu ya. Okay. So Rifli, thanks so much for your introduction, and thank you for coming to the interview. I wanted to ask you, right? So basically, why do you choose the university that you chose, which is Davis at that time? And do you have any other choices of university in mind as well, other than Davis?
Okay, thank you for the question, Kafif. So basically, I chose UC Davis because based on UC Davis, which is ranked first Indonesian in the US in the agricultural sector, and I think that status has an interconnection on my interest in peatland and environmental law, environmental legal research. I think UC Davis is the most appropriate university for me to explore deeper on that field, especially from the multidimensional perspective. I also have a big desire to produce international research, especially by utilizing the UC Davis Global Connections database. So it's actually the existing opportunity and also the environment that provides collaborative research opportunities. In addition, I also chose UC Davis because I would like to engage in one organization that I believe there will be lots of individuals with the same vision as mine, such as the Environmental Law Society that provides a space for knowledge transfer on environmental law through regional conferences, discusses pending legislation, and scrutinizes the natural resources issues from the policy-making point of view. So basically, UC Davis is is a perfect place for me to explore deeper about environmental laws because of the background and also the ranking in terms of the context of agriculture sector. And I think other choices besides UC Davis, I also have a preference to choose Boston University because I think Boston is also known as a university that provides business law courses, and I think I also have a big interest towards that courses that will prompt me to be an aspiring corporate lawyer in the future.
Perfect. Okay. I really like Rifli's answer gitu ya. Jadi a little bit of what I like about this answer is that tadi di awal-awal aku juga udah bilang kalau misalnya jangan answernya stop hanya di ranking nomor 1 and that's it gitu ya. Jadi di sini Rifli aku sukanya karena dia acknowledge the fact that yes itu rank nomor 1, tapi you also explain bagaimana itu relevan dengan studi yang kamu mau pursue gitu ya. In which case this is an environmental law. Dan kamu juga nggak hanya ngomongin bahwa kamu mau jadi a really really good lawyer, but you also want to take opportunity or take advantage of the research community of the global network. And I think that's exactly what in the previous section I mentioned about how it's not enough that you only want to be interested in one thing and be really good at it, but you also want to take into the broader context the cross-cultural sort of exchange gitu ya. And so I think that's what you did really well here. And also I think you mentioned also University of Boston, which I think was like of course a really good university as well, and you mentioned why. So I think sometimes people would try to throw you in that sense, kayak kind of asking, oh memang kalau kamu nggak keterima plan A, what's gonna be your plan B gitu kan. I think it's important that you can think of your feet on your feet and make sure that you also know that there are other opportunities out there gitu. Really good. Second question is maybe you're a law major student, right? But maybe you choose different classes that are not related to law. So for example, maybe you choose a business class or like an environment class. So why do you think you want to choose these different classes, and how do you think they can be sort of combined together for your interests?
Okay, thank you for the question once again, Kak. So basically, there are two courses provided by the UC Davis. Actually, there are four courses, but I will give the exposure on these two courses that I really like the most, which is first is agriculture. So basically, agriculture is one of the fundamental interests. That's why it prompts me to dive deeper into the environmental law research, because I think there are lots of controversial policy, and how do we create a holistic policy that covers all of the needs of the nation, national and international realm. So I think agriculture is the thing that I would like to in this context. Agriculture is seen in the context or the point of view in the social side. So I think it's very important to know that cross-sectoral collaboration, and also how do we make a great public policy, etc. And I think this is really interconnected with the second course that I choose, is philosophy. So philosophy is how we could create a critical reasoning, and how do we make an argument based on the premises and ended up to the conclusion. And it's all about interconnected with the policy related to the agriculture, for instance. So I think it's more likely about how do we hone our critical thinking skills. And for the agriculture, it's more likely about the policy in the agricultural sector in the international realm, and how it impacts the whole society, social, non-governmental organization, government, etc. So I think it's really, really interconnected. And I think there's no big trade-off if we learn outside of our main major in our home university.
Okay. I really like that answer again, because I think it also emphasized what I previously mentioned in the previous section, that it's really important for you to build your breadth of knowledge. And I think Rifli, you in here you really show that. Jadi interested in law, but law is very big anyway, so you choose agricultural and environmental, which is your area of passion. Tapi you also show kayak awareness gitu ya. Hey, I can also actually learn from philosophy, even though you may not necessarily gain like the knowledge gitu ya, knowledge skill dari law yang related to law, tapi kamu juga ngerti gitu kan bahwa law itu adalah something yang at the end of the day use a lot of critical reasoning, and it also shows that you're aware of that and you are willing to actually venture out to other subject gitu. Now, of course, in here briefly, has been accepted. So we all know, this kind of answer is exactly the kind of answer that that could come out. But if I could recommend one thing, I think in general the answer can be a little bit shorter. Of course, ini Rifli juga impromptu ya, dia cuma bantu Abroadening. So I'm sure in real life it's also a little shorter. But in general, for people out there who are still going to go for their interview, maybe start your answer with a structure. So mention something like, hey, these are the two courses that I take, which is agriculture and philosophy. I take agriculture because of X, I take philosophy because of Y, and then explain to it after providing the structure, rather than going too deep into like a certain answer, because then people would maybe get lost in the details. So it's always better to provide the sort of like big structure in the beginning. So that's just one of the things that I would like to advise to people out there who are watching. Okay, perfect. So, Rifli, you seem like a guy who really knows what you want, right? Like, so you're really clear that you want to
Yeah.
go to agricultural environmental research. So, I guess my question today is, how will ISMA help you achieve your goals anyway? Isn't this something that you are already quite clear in, sort of wanting to do?
Okay, thank you, Kafif. So my answer will be, I think this is a very, very long-term investment for me because ISMA provides an inclusive opportunity for all in Indonesia, for Indonesian undergraduate students to study abroad. So I think how will ISMA help me to achieve my goals? Through these international connections and also the collaborations itself. I mean, um, I think it really, really depends to us when we are accepted to be an awardee. And I think I really want to utilize the opportunity and also connection in the host universities, such as the organizations, the connections. And I think it's very important to nurture the connection when we have gone and already go back to our home to Indonesia, because I think the nurture connection itself will create a long-term investment itself, such as like, for instance, I think it's in practical. I think we can request for a reference, for example, or recommendation letter from the University of California, Davis when we would like to apply for the opportunity or fellowship, etc. So it opens the variety of opportunities for me, and it really hones my well-roundedness because I also learn the skills outside of legal study or law, because I think ISMA really, really prompts the student to studying outside the the courses or the choices as their own major study in their home university.
Okay, perfect. I think that's a really, really good question. I think what I would add is just again in the beginning, sort of like for people who are watching out there, like emphasize on your goals, remind them again of your goals, because I assume, I think, some of the interviewers, they would probably, have so many profile, but I think that's what's exciting, and maybe that's what worked for Rifli, that like he has a specific thing that he's interested, and so his profile is very fresh in their mind, right? Like maybe Rifli in the committee room is referred as the guy who is really interested in agricultural law and research rather than just interested in law, or like just another law student, right? So I think it's important that you craft a very specific profile that works for you. And I think in here basically Rifli mentions about broadening opportunities. It would be good if if you people watching out there can also emphasize like, hey, I'm looking for I'm looking to be someone who is whole rounded, which is Rifli kind of said in the end. So if you kind of flip that in the beginning and say that like, hey, I'm really looking to expand my opportunity and be a whole-rounded person. And I think that's why ISMA can really help me, because it gave me freedom to choose my module. It gave me freedom to maintain the connection and all that. I think that would be a really, really good thing. And yeah, I think some of you guys might be able to use this answer as well, which I think is really relevant to ISMA. We talk about, again, the emphasis is on cultural cross-cultural understanding. So again, you showed that by your interest and your understanding, and not just wanting to become a better lawyer, right? You don't just want to become a better lawyer, but you want to become a more well-rounded lawyer in equipping yourself with other knowledge. And I think that's what's really set ISMA apart. And yeah, last question that I have here. So if you're feeling homesick in the host country, and you want to go home, what would you do? Because 6 months is a very long time to be in someone else's country and to be exposed to like a completely different culture than Indonesia.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Kafif. So first thing first, I think this is related to the culture shock, and I think culture shock is very temporary, and I think it's very constructive for us to go out of our comfort zone. So it's actually in terms of developing ourselves to be an independent individual. And when I get homesick feeling in the host country and want to go home, I think it's really important to be transparent. I think it's important to have a transparency or openness to communicate that feeling, and also share that feeling to your friends as an ISMA awardee, like ISMA UC Davis. I have that friends, and I would like to share my feeling, my hurdles, and also the things that I think this is like my first experience go abroad, etc. So I think the transparency and openness to communicate that feeling, I think it heals, the wound, or the wound, and also call my family. I think that is the second alternative, and I think culture shock and something like that is very temporary. It's very constructive, and along the way, I think the adaptability and also resilience is the things that will come up to the surface, because you also have gone through the side of adaptability in terms of the diversity, the heterogeneity of people, the new circumstance. And I think it's a very normal thing that people will also feel that way, especially as the first timer that will go to study abroad in this kind of opportunity.
Perfect. I really like that answer. That's a very good answer. I think I would say this kind of question is the kind of question yang maybe seem simple, seem easy gitu ya, tapi jangan sampai gagal gara-gara question seperti ini gitu kan. And I think what I really like about Rifli's answer is that dia tidak hanya provide solution apa yang akan dia lakukan kalau misalnya dia merasakan homesick, tapi dia juga provide perspektif gitu ya, provide perspektif tentang homesick itu sebenarnya bergunanya seperti apa gitu kan. Jadi then as you can tell in the answer as well, Rifli doesn't seem hesitating gitu ya, and Rifli seems very keen still, even though there's a prospect that there is gonna be homesick and all of those things. Karena at the end of the day, going back to what I said in the previous section, remember about the objective, which also means remember the success metric gitu kan. Kayak maksudnya government juga mau minimize the amount of people yang mungkin harus pulang gitu ya, karena mungkin ada homesick dan yang lainnya. Makanya mereka tanya banyak tentang homesickness dan tanya tentang health gitu, because they want to make sure that the 6-month program is a success for as many people as possible in their host country gitu. Jadi I really like what he said about the types of solution. I really like about the topic of transparency, of openness, karena itu juga berarti make use of that society gitu ya, make use of the fact that you're not gonna be a loner, misalnya you're not gonna be keeping to yourself, but rather you're gonna go out there, you're gonna connect with people, you're gonna meet other people and learn from them. Dan Rifli juga mengerti bahwa homesickness is part of the sort of price that you have to pay gitu kan, and it also trains your resilience and all that. Jadi I think penting banget di sini untuk mungkin nggak hanya provide solusi, kalau misalnya homesick ya udah kayak telepon mama aja harusnya oke gitu, jangan jawabnya pendek gitu juga, tapi mungkin lebih ngomongin kayak menurut kalian kenapa homesick itu pendapat kalian tentang homesick gimana gitu kan. Jadi pendapat Rifli tadi kan kayak itu temporary aja and everyone should be able to overcome that gitu. Nah jadi that's what I really like about it. Maybe Rifli, before we finish, you can also provide to us some of the tips that you have ya waktu di interview. Mungkin 2-3 tip yang menurut kamu membuat kamu sukses gitu untuk interview ISMA kemarin.
Oke, thank you Kak Viv. Sebenarnya semuanya tadi udah encapsulated through Kak Viv's answer, but I think for the 3 tips from me personally as an awardee 2021, first I think you really need to know your host university. I think questions-nya akan circled mengapa pilih universitas tersebut, dan apa sih yang ingin kita lakukan gitu di host university. Jadi research universitasnya apa, dan itu membuat jawabannya akan lebih well-rounded, dan kita cukup well-prepared gitu sebagai future awardee ISMA di universitas A atau B. So I think it's really important to know holistically and also specifically related to the courses lah, dan clubs-nya, communities-nya, dan lain sebagainya. Terus yang kedua, I think Kak, structure the answer. I mean, we also need to have a preventive measures. Kalau misalnya kita ada pertanyaan ini nih, kalian pasti akan ada beberapa contoh-contoh pertanyaan yang mungkin akan mirip-mirip gitu dengan tahun-tahun sebelumnya. Jadi coba dari pertanyaan tersebut kita latihan, kita strukturkan jawabannya seperti apa. Dan tadi kan kita impromptu ya, Kak Viv. Jadi untuk teman-teman yang akan interview IISMA di beberapa hari ke depan itu bikin menstrukturkan dan membuat lebih singkat gitu. Karena singkat, padat, jelas itu lebih lebih nangkap aja gitu sih intinya, esensinya, dan nggak circling ya, karena jawaban yang circling kan juga jadi bahaya juga gitu. Kalau misalnya jawabannya udah keputar-putar, substansinya mungkin nggak ada gitu. Dan yang pertama tadi universitas penting, yang kedua struktur, dan yang ketiga adalah I think mental itu juga penting banget, karena dalam arti mental dan juga kesiapan fasilitas, kalau bisa pakai laptop gitu, dan mental kita juga untuk berbicara itu bisa lebih di-maintain aja. I think nervousness is something that all people have ever experienced. Cuma itu sesuatu yang kalau misalnya throughout the interview process itu biasa juga akan hilang dengan sendirinya. Jadi itu juga sementara di awal, tapi coba kita melatih diri, latihan di depan cermin dan lain sebagainya. Intinya latihan sih, Kak Viv, latihan lebih banyak. I think that's all. Mungkin tips-tips like additional tips apa ya? I think memperluas wawasan kita terhadap diri sendiri. I think it's also very important. Dan mungkin itu lebih ke poin ketiga deh daripada fasilitas. Karena maksudnya kita mengetahui strength, weakness, opportunity, threats. Kita tahu diri kita ini seperti apa, kita tahu goal kita apa, memilih universitas ini karena apa, dan lain sebagainya. Jadi itu akan membuat elaborasi jawaban kita lebih kreatif gitu, lebih banyak, dan tetap buat singkat padat jelas. I think that's my tips, Kak.
Wah, bagus banget, Rifli. Thank you banget for the tips. Actually, tips-tips tersebut emang penting banget ya. Jadi kamu cover soal mental dan soal kesiapan jawaban gitu. Thank you banget, Rifli, for your time. Teman-teman di luar yang lagi nonton, semoga sukses semua for IISMA interview. As always, let us know if you have any other questions. Reach out to us at Abroadening Indonesia. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.